Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah. All praise to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rekakadash. Yahweh being the name of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Shah being the name of His only begotten Son, who they ignorantly call Jesus Christ. Now, one of the foundation scriptures, Deuteronomy 28 and 68, it breaks down how the greatest slavery happened in history. See, you go to Google and you type in what's the greatest slavery happened in history, or the biggest slavery that happened in history. They're gonna tell you that the transatlantic slave trade was the greatest and biggest slavery ever in the history of mankind. So when you look in the history books of the prophets, they gonna tell you about that. That's not something that they gonna glance over. See, God allowed a bunch of people to be sold like cattle, and He gonna gloss over that. That's not gonna be addressed in the book of the prophets. That's telling you about famine. They can tell you about famine and food shortages. That simple thing, they can't tell you about the greatest and biggest slavery in the world. They can tell you about earthquakes, but they can't tell you about slavery. See, the prophets told you about everything. Every single thing that happened in history, they was telling you about it, especially when it was dealing with God. So let's go to Deuteronomy 28 and 68. Now, to give the context, verse 1 of Deuteronomy 28, it talks about if they was to obey, He was going to bless them above all the nations. Then in verse 15, it tells you if they disobeyed, they will be thrown into slavery, or they will have curses or punishments. So once you get to 38, the last verse, He say, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. Now, when they went into Egypt, it was no water. See, they walked down to Egypt. It was just a walk across the countryside. So the second time when He was going to send them back, it was talking about a spiritual Egypt, not a physical Egypt. Because Egypt represented slavery. It represented bondage for God's people, because these other gods, they was false gods. They was not real gods. They were just stuff that idols people was worshiping rocks and stone, wood and stone. See, people was just worshiping anything. Just like they worship women and gold and money. They worship anything. But back then, it was only one God. So that one God had His people multiply in Egypt, and they was in a hard bondage. See, so He said He gonna send His people back into bondage, into that hard bondage, if they disobey. You see, this was gonna be one of the main punishments that they was gonna have, was to serve other nations, was to be punished by these other nations. So it says, and the Lord will bring thee into Egypt again with ships. And by the way whereof I spake unto you, you shall see it no more again. And there, meaning where you was got off that ship, where them people was selling you at, where they had this auction blocks, they was auctioning you off. It says, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies, for bondman and bondwoman. See, you was gonna be man and woman. One just gonna be the man. Now the men was the mostly sold at first when they got on the ships. They was selling the men was 18 years old and up. If you was 18, close to the age of 18, you probably was gonna be some of the men that they snatched up, because they wanted fresh new cattle. They didn't want no old behind cattle. They wanted a young teenager, a new male. Then the females, they wanted them young too, so they could breed with the males once they got off them ships. Because this is a major game plan by the so-called Catholic Church and by the Pope the Fifth, Charles. It was this. Oh, what up, baby? Major game plan. So he say, And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. And that buy you, when you go back to the Hebrew word for buy you, is talking about to redeem you or save you. No man is going to save the nation of Israel. See, that's why Yahushua died, so he could be the savior. He's going to be the one to redeem them. It's not going to be some king that rise up. That's why he was going to be the king of kings and the Lord of lords. He was going to be their king. They weren't going to raise up another Moses or another Joshua or another savior. Now, when you go into that redeem, let me see if I can get that. That same Hebrew word is in another verse. Let me see if I can find that other verse real quick. Here it is, Nehemiah chapter 5, verse 8. It says, and I said unto them, we after our ability have redeemed our brethren the Jews. So that Hebrew word was meant redeem. It's the same word for buy you. See, it was nobody was coming to buy them with money. See, it was bigger than money. It was about saving them from their enemies. It wasn't about they were sold for $10 and somebody was going to pay the $10 so they can get out of slavery. No, it was to save them from their enemies, to buy them back from the enemy, redeem them. So let's see here. Same Hebrew word, Psalms 25 and 22. It says, redeem Israel, O God, out of all his troubles. So he was going to be redeemed, bought back, redemption. See, the redeem meaning to just sell back or to give back to the possession of the other person. It ain't talking about money all the time. See, I can get you back by trading you with crops or with my cattle. I don't need money, literally money. I'm not talking about that. Let's get Luke, because Luke breaks it down plainly. How they say in layman terms. Luke chapter 1, starting at 68, it says, blessed be the Lord God of Israel, for he have visited and redeemed his people. See, it's buying them back. Jump down to verse 71. It says that we should be saved from our enemies. See, that's the salvation, not just saved from some mistake you made. Saved from your enemies when they got armies surrounding you and you can't leave the border without a passport. See, this is what he's talking about. It says, and shall be saved from our enemies and from the hand of all that hate us. See, it's not just talking about some money. It's bigger than money. Jump down to verse 74. It says, that he would grant unto us that we being delivered out of the hand of our enemies might serve him without fear. Because what was we doing under our enemies? Serving our enemy. So he said, I'm going to save you from serving your enemies. Now you can serve me. Because you serving these jobs, McDonald's, Burger King, 7-Eleven, Walmart, Wendy's. See, the construction company, the railroad. You serving your other people corporations. Because none of these blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans own these companies. You just serving somebody else's purpose, raising up their stocks in their business. You don't own these companies. Now, let's get it in, let's see, Revelation. Then we're going to get into the people that's trying to say they was selling themselves and they was never sold, to try to prove some point that it said, oh look, it says nobody gonna buy you. But let's go to Revelation 11 and 12 and see the ultimate form of the salvation. It says, and they heard a great voice from heaven saying unto them, come up hither. And they ascended up to heaven in a cloud, and their enemies beheld them. See, the enemy is going to be trying to kill them. See, put them in concentration camp, round them up, slaughter them like cattle. But he going to come out the sky and save them. Say, come up hither. See, that's the salvation. That's the deliverance that he's talking about. He's not talking about delivering you from smoking a cigarette. He's not talking about delivering you from eating a pig. No, he's delivering you from your enemy. So now let's go into the verses that prove that the Israelites were sold for money, sold for slaves. Because they try to say, oh, he said he wasn't going to sell them. Okay, let's see. And Maccabees talks about it in detail. Let's get Maccabees first. Maccabees, the 3rd chapter. I'm getting right to the point, verse 41. Now, mind you, this go along with Deuteronomy 28:68, because when you go to Ezekiel, it talks about a land of merchant, a land of merchant, merchants of. Let me recheck that how he stated that. Ezekiel 17 and I think verse 4. Oh, okay, that's what he says. It says he cropped off the top of his young twig and carried it into a land of traffic and set it in a city of merchants. See, this great city, Babylon, America. This is a land of merchants. You got 7-Eleven, you got all kind of corporations buying employees. See, they can even sell employees. You can work for the 7-Eleven or the, let me say something that is common. You can work for the Publix in New York City. Then you can go to Alabama and work for the same Publix. They could trade you to a Publix that's in California. Then they could trade you to a Publix that's in Miami. See, they can trade their slaves. City of merchants. Now, when you go back to the Maccabees, 3 and 41, it says, and the merchants of the country, hearing the fame of them, took silver and gold very much with servants, and came into the camp to buy the children of Israel for slaves. See, specifically, buy the children of Israel for slaves. It gives you the details. So when you go to Deuteronomy 28:68, when it say they should not buy you, no, that was talking about to redeem you, because they were sold. It's documented. Then let's go to Joel. Joel chapter 3. It gives you intricately detailed. Now it says, I'm going to get right to the point. Verse 3. It says, and they cast lots for my people. When you cast lots for somebody, what are you doing? You selling them. You casting lots. You saying, you know what? I'll give you this if you give me that. Because it ain't always got to be money. See? Because just for instance, let's go to the next part. It says, and have given a boy for an harlot and sold a girl for wine. See, they would use wine to sell the slave. They didn't always have to have money. If I got a whole bunch of bottle of liquor, I can sell this girl that's 13 to this other redneck over here in Alabama. I don't need money all the time. It says, and sold a girl for wine, that they might drink. Jump down to verse 6. The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have you sold unto the Grecians. See, the Grecian is a certified people. They got statues, They got monuments. See, they got paintings. They are documented people. They are documented one nation of people, because Alexander the Great was the first of the Grecians. He was known, his father was Philip of Macedonia. The Macedonians are identified as a specific race or people. So he said that in verse 6, in Joel 3 and 6, and the children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have you sold unto the Grecians. Now they'll try to say, oh, Joel was thousands of years ago. No, Joel was a prophet. Prophet is to tell the future, not to tell what's going on right then. He wasn't talking about what was going on in his time. He was talking about what's finna happen in the future. That's what prophecy is all about. It's not talking about, oh, in 2 years this is gonna happen. In 10 years, no. And we know back in his time, this was not happening. These situations wasn't happening. The only time the Israelites went into slavery was under the Babylonian Africans, Hamites, big, tall African people. That's when they went into slavery under Babylon. After that, they did not go into slavery till the Grecians came and till the Romans came. See, and there was a specific nation. Now, when you go into 1 Maccabees, the 1st chapter, it tells you about Alexander the Great. And they know their civilization began with Alexander the Great. It says, and it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead the first over Greece. See, he was the first over Greece, the Grecian. He was not no other nation. And the Persians, they took over the Babylonians. So the only time that they was under bondage was under the Babylonians. Then the Persians, who are the Iranians, in 1935, the Persians changed their name to Iranians, or Iran. So these people was taken over by who? The Grecian, Alexander the Great, the so-called white man. This is who was taken over. He say, look at verse 2. It says that many wars were won, many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth. This nation been having wars. Wars is nothing now. They've been killing each other for a long time. The Punic War, they was killing each other. Just World War I and World War II, that's just recent. They've been killing each other. That's the MO of their nation. All right, when you go down to, let's see here. Jump down to verse 'It's a part that it talks about what happened when they took over. There it is, verse 9. This first Maccabees, the 1st chapter, verse 9. It's saying, after his death, they all put crowns on their heads or on themselves, and did their sons after them many years. And evils were multiplied in the earth. So before they took over, it wasn't an evil earth. The whole earth was low on an evil vibration. Then when they took over, that's when the whole earth became evil. See? And let's get that. That's in Revelation. It tells you when the so-called Greeks took over, that evils was multiplied in the earth. What does Revelation 6 and 4 say? It talks about that power. It says, and there went out another horse that was red. See, that's a specific nation. It says, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth. That's what the Greeks did. evils was multiplied when Alexander the Great and his soldiers came on the earth and started ruling, taking over everything. It says, and that they shall kill one another, and there was given unto him a great sword. So yeah, they were killing one another. They ain't never really stopped killing one another. See, they've been killing each other for a long time. That's the MO of their nation. That's what their nation was prophesied to do. They was telling Alexander the Great that he was going to take over. He knew he was prophesied 150 something years, maybe even 200 years before he was took over. They was telling him, you're going to take over and you're going to rule in many nations, in many countries. So he was fighting these wars with confidence because he had listened to the prophets. Now let's go back to Joel, because this is just showing how it's certified history that the Israelites were sold, and in history it was a major slavery that was noteworthy, that was unprecedented. 3 and 6. And this also shows how the Grecians, who was these Grecians? And who was this red horse in Revelation that taking peace from the earth? Who was the Grecian that evils was multiplied in the earth when they took over? Jump down. Well, let's read 6 again. It said, the children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have you sold to the Grecians. They were sold to the Grecians. Who was these Grecians? Verse 19. And Egypt shall be a desolation. See, that's that spiritual Egypt. He said, I'm going to put you back in Egypt again with ships. What was going to be this Egypt? It was going to be a spiritual Egypt. Now look at the nation that was this spiritual Egypt. And Edom shall be a desolate wilderness for the violence against the children of Judah, because they have shed innocent blood in their land. See? So you got the Grecians multiplied, took peace from the earth. Revelation 6 said this red horse. That red stands for Edom. Edom means red. There's only one red people walking around. See, everybody not red. Everybody is either brown or you red. There's no in between. There's no outside of the box. You either got pigment in your skin, or you got albinism and you can't produce pigment, or you got to go on the beach where I'm at right now. You got to go and lay on that sand, and then pigment start producing, or the melanin start producing in your body. Now you can go to the doctor and put a pill in your system, and that pill can help you start producing melanin, but that's only for a short period of time. You're not going to produce melanin for a long period of time. You see? So there's no such thing as multiple red people. No, there's only one red people on the earth. And that's why they're so focused on skin color, because they thinking about that they know that they the only red people. When you think about it, 7% of the world's population are white Caucasian men. 7%. You got billions of people on the earth, but only 7% are Caucasian, so-called Caucasian white men who are red. So yeah, they gonna focus on skin color, because everybody else got color. Only 7%. What's that? 93%. 93% of the world population got a tan or producing melanin in their skin. 93%. So they're going to focus on skin color and try to make it about skin color, but it's not. It's their one little nation that got that skin color, that got that skin condition. Because that's not just a color, that's a condition. When you go into the what you call the book, biology book, or one of the books out of the universities that's talking about the skin, either it could be microbiology or something like that. It breaks down the two skin condition. It's only two. You got skin that can produce melanin on a normal basis when you get into the sun, or you got skin that cannot produce it. It's recessive. That's where you get albinism, leprosy. It's certified science, so-called scientific fact, because that scientific go back to knowledge. It's just knowledge. They just did some studies and they came up with this knowledge, science. It's not no mathematical situation and equations and all that. That's some bull crap, man. They just did some studies. They studied some situations and they found out skin condition. Oh, these people, they can produce melanin in their skin. Oh, these people, they can't. Okay, you got leprosy or you an albino. It's simple. But how the one lady say she's a psychiatrist, it's a form of what you call it, low self-esteem. When somebody have low self-esteem, they project their fears off on other people. They project whatever they insecurities. Whatever their insecurities, they project them off on somebody else. So if they got an insecurity about their skin complexion, they project it off on other people. Because they're only 7% of the world's population. See, and they try to act like they're the majority. Only 7% of males. And that's why they on this got this killing mentality. Because they feel like they dying. They feel like they are in low numbers and they got to take over and control everybody or they gonna go extinct. See, what's that, Wilson, the Dr. Francis Wilson. She says them trying to stop them from being extinct. They trying to stop their own so-called genocide. Now, that nation that we were sold to, that the Israelites were sold to, let's go back to Deuteronomy 28, because it talks about it was going to be a nation. Because those enemies was identified in the same curses. Deuteronomy 28:49, it said, and the Lord shall bring a nation against you. Okay, there just wasn't going to be some random enemies. Random armies was going to come and grab some Israelites and take them over there. Another army was going to grab some Israelites and take them over there. No, it wasn't going to be random. It was going to be one nation. Now look at what this nation was going to be able to do. Verse 48, it said, therefore shall you serve your enemies, which the Lord shall send against you, in hunger, in thirst, in nakedness, and in want of all things. So these enemies, you was going to be in their land. See, because people control their land. They control what's going on in their land. Their military protect their land. So you was going to be sold to them in their land, and you're going to have to depend on them for everything and serve them. See, you was going to have to serve their government, serve their king. It says, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon your neck until he have destroyed you. So that yoke of iron, you go to Google, it's a simple Google search. Yoke of iron, is no other people gonna pop up. There's no other people gonna pop up with yokes of iron around their neck. See? And it's one nation that got the yoke of iron on their neck. It's not a bunch of nations got the yoke of iron on a bunch of people's neck. Even the people that was over there in Australia, they was throwing yokes of iron on their neck, but it wasn't no, that was the same nation. Because they was discriminating on anybody that didn't have their skin condition. You was being discriminated on. Because they didn't know who you resided from. If you had their skin condition, then they would say, okay, you all right with us. Because we don't know who your father is. Now it says, going back to verse 49, it said, and the Lord shall bring a nation, not random armies, one nation. See, they try to detach themselves from the Romans. Oh, the Romans, and then they go to naming some other people. It's the same people. It said, the Lord shall bring a nation against you from afar, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth. So now you go into these national animals or national birds. This one nation They all got this eagle. They all got this one bird. Germany got the bird. France got the bird. Spain got the bird. America, all of them have the eagle. See? And that's not by coincidence, man. It says, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand, because they gonna understand their tongue. The French understood. Everybody that was in their French nation, they understood French. The Spaniards, they understood Spanish. Portuguese, they understood Portuguese. What was the other one? Dutch, they understood Dutch. And English, they understood English. These were the people. That was the Grecians. That was the Edomites. The red nation. Verse 50, look at the characteristics of this nation. They weren't going to be some nice, God-fearing, loving nation, even though they preaching this crap. But this ain't what this is not how they going to be acting. This is how they was going to act. Verse 50, a nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of old, nor show favor to the young. See, if you was 70 years old, you was in that cotton field. If you was 65, you was in that cotton field. Unless you couldn't walk. See, you just couldn't walk, they put you back in the outhouse somewhere in the woods, and that's what you're going to have to deal with. But if you can walk and you can move your hand, you was going to be in that tobacco field with all kind of smut and tar on your body. See, if you could move your fingers and move your legs, you was going to be in that cotton field. See, this was the kind of nation, they was not going to care if you was an old person or a young person. The young babies too, they was right out in the cotton field. They was right out there with their mamas and daddies. They was not going to care if you was young or old. It's only one nation can fit it. It says in a nation of fierce countenance. That's another one. When you look at them and they fire red, you like, what the heck is this? See, it's a fierce countenance. It's going. Well, let me get Marion. See, when Marion got leprosy, let's see what was said about. I think her name was Marion or Mazraim. Let me put leprosy in here. Because when she turned when she was given that skin disorder or that skin condition, let's see what they said about her. Was it in Jeremiah? No. Because she was talking against Moses, and she was saying Moses got this Egyptian woman. Let's see. Okay, let's put in Egyptian woman. Okay. Salakia. I want to find that verse. Now Moses, that would be Exodus. Somewhere in Exodus. Okay. Yeah. All right, now take it easy, brother.
Got
You're looking
married?
all, I see you looking all good. Pimp daddy. Hey. Now, I'm gonna let that go because I don't know what the world. Let me try to find a keyword for this one. As now look at this. I don't think this is the one with what I was looking for, but this looked like it might be even better. It's a command of children of Israel that they put out of the camp every leper and every one that has an issue, and whosoever is defiled by the dead. So that not only was these people in this condition called leper or with leprosy, they was considered as the dead. That's why in Habakkuk 2 and 5, it say that these people was as dead, as death itself. They looked like they was dead. Now, down under the description, I'm gonna put on the comment, I'll put the verse because I cannot remember what verse that was. So let's get another one that talks about being sold. Luke.
Let's go.
Luke 21.
On my left.
Now after the Greeks and the Romans took them over, they was being told by Yahushua what was going to happen to them. They right in the middle of slavery now already, and he telling them what's going to happen. Luke 21:24, he say, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword and shall be led away captives into all lands or all nations. So even when Yahushua was on the scene, they had a temple, they had priests, they had the whole situation going. Yahushua say, after this time, you going into slavery, man. You gonna be captured. See, when they got captured, they was put on slave ships and sent they behind across the water. It was no situation that the Israelites stopped going into slavery. It never happened. They king and their savior told them that you finna go into slavery into all nations. You see? And when was they gonna be saved out of that slavery? Because he told them they gonna kill you with the sword. First of all, they gonna surround Jerusalem. See, the Romans gonna come and surround your land. After they surround your land, if you don't head to the mountains, they gonna kill everybody else and take everybody else captive. And then he told them when that was gonna end, he gave them the end. He said until the Gentile times was up, till their time the rule was up, he was gonna produce this. Now look at verse 27. This is Luke 21:27. And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. And 28. And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draw nigh. So they was going to be in the slavery until he cracked the sky. They was going to be in bondage until they cracked the sky. So that's why he said, no man shall buy you, no man shall redeem you. Because he said, when you see all this stuff happening, they looking up all in the sky and seeing all this phenomenon, what they call it, UFOs, then you're going to see me crack that sky. That's going to be your redemption. Your redemption not coming because they're going to raise up some kind of Messiah and everybody gonna be scared of him, or he gonna raise up some great army and all his army gonna take over the world. No, he literally told them, when I crack that sky, that's when you gonna be saved from your enemy. You're gonna be serving your enemies until I crack that sky. Let me read it again. It says, and when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draws nigh. He was talking to the Israelites. Everybody was told, okay, y'all, all people in all nations was going to be taken over by the sword and killed and thrown into slavery. No, he did not say all nations was going into slavery, man. All nations never went into slavery. It's just the proof is in the pudding. See, and he was telling them, your redemption is only coming when I crack that sky. That's when your redemption coming. You're not going to be redeemed from your enemies before I crack the sky, man. I don't care who raise up and say what army they possess. I don't care what kind of weapons they got. You're not coming out of slavery until I crack that sky. Clear instruction. Clear statement. Now look at Peter. Let's see, Peter, what is it, chapter 3, I'm at the 14th verse. Yeah, Peter, chapter, 2 Peter. No, it's 1 Peter. It might be, yeah, 1 Peter 4. 1 Peter 4, starting at 17, it say, for the time is come that judgment must begin at the house of God. And if it first begin at us, what shall the end be of them that obeyeth not the gospel of God? And see, that gospel going to what I'm talking about, being saved from your enemy. That's a good news. If you in bondage to an enemy, to a bunch of people that hate you, it's not going to be a bad thing that you get away from these people. See, it's going to be a good news. You mean to tell me we ain't got to raise up a military, we ain't got to get a bunch of weapons and try to start our own nuclear, because see, every other nation trying to get their nuclear weapons so they can come against these dragons. But see, we don't have to do that, because our Savior is going to come from the sky. Our salvation is going to come from the sky. See, we don't have to worry about spending billions of dollars on getting a nuclear weapon so that we can fight against the so-called white man. We don't have to worry about that, because our salvation coming from the sky. That's why they military generals is saying we need to spend $20 million on these UFOs. What is this phenomenon in the sky? What is this stuff? We in danger. See? They got to spend millions of dollars just to do the research, because they know the prophecy is coming to truth. Peons, the pawns in the game, the puppets in the game, they don't know what the heck going on, man. They have no idea. But the elites, people with trillions of dollars, people with billions of dollars, they got unlimited access to information. See? Only them and the prophets is going to know what's going on. The average Joe is not going to know what the heck going on. They have no purpose in